Hello, my name is Wesley Wallace, and I'm a student news journalist for Radford University's Tartan newspaper. Today, I'll be speaking with Kevin Amaya. He's a regional assistant director for transfer students and undergraduate admissions at Radford University. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on for this interview is COVID 19's impact on the higher education system, particularly with Radford. As I was doing research on it, I found that a study done by the National Association for College Admission Counseling found that more than half of college admissions officers believe that they said that the COVID 19 pandemic will have a profound or substantial impact on the data that they were able to get on recruiting potential new students to the universities. They surveyed approximately 377 four-year college institutions, and they said that they had to find ways to reach out to high school seniors who were particularly interested in becoming freshmen at their schools, whether doing virtual sessions, emails, Zoom, like we're doing right now, face to face. So I wanted to ask you, how will Radford's undergraduate admissions team work to recruit more prospective students during the pandemic?
Yeah, so it's definitely changed. The process is very different, but luckily for us, we've always had the resources to be able to recruit students and a lot of connections. At Radford, we always strive to, kind of keep those one-on-one connections with, either partners through the high schools, through the community colleges. So for us, it was relatively smooth of a transition. And I think one of the best things was, we have a lot of our team's really united, honestly, at Radford. And so for us, the transition, it was quick. I mean, it was as soon as we heard things last March, we move all our events online. As you mentioned, there's virtual visits and online, you know just with how quick we moved, it wasn't that hard of a thing to do. And as of right now, obviously I can't comment on like exact numbers or anything like that, but I will say, with how things have been going, we're still pretty confident that we can pull out, a great, incoming class, for the fall of 2021, for what we just had for the spring as well of 2021.
And I wanted to ask you, what do you enjoy most about connecting with transfer students? I know you do a lot of meetings, usually with transfer students from community colleges in Northern Virginia and other parts of Virginia. What do you like about that aspect from meeting students you potentially want to transfer over to Radford from two-year community colleges?
Yeah, so I love hearing the ambition that they have. That's kind of one of my favorite things. A lot of students, um, the community colleges, there's plenty of reasons why students choose them. Sometimes it's a cost savings, sometimes it's just they might not know what they want to major in yet, or they're just kind of exploring options and don't want to dive all the way in, to a four-year college. So working with them, it's great. They most of the time students, they know exactly what they want to do. They've been working hard at at their community college, and then when they transition over, they know all the little like nitty gritty things. They know they have to do the FAFSA. They know they have to, apply for scholarships and all those kind of things. So it's really nice working with them because it's almost, at least for me, it is a night and day difference when you're working with an incoming freshman versus a transfer student. And I like how when you work with a transfer student, typically when they're applying to us, they've already made the selection process. They maybe only have one or two schools most of the time that they're looking at. For a freshman, a lot of times you apply to many, many schools because, in high school, that's kind of what the counselors tell you. They want you to apply multiple schools. Your parents want you to apply to multiple schools. Most transfers, they've already kind of narrowed down that option. So when you're working with them, I mean, it's really just kind of like a job application. You're applying because you're already interested. You're already through the door. That's kind of how it works for them. So for them, when you're working with them, it's very direct stuff. You can get them connected with, staff. Like, let's say, like if they want to do computer science, you get them connected with the chair of that department, so it's a lot more fun, I would say, because, you're really getting to know these students. It's just a little bit easier to do, I think, with the transfer side.
And what's interesting about this time, especially for high school seniors who are getting ready to apply to colleges, the landscape has changed. Oftentimes, they would usually have tours or more face-to-face meetings, but they can't do that as much. And so they're, like we just mentioned, have to do Zoom interviews, virtual fairs, things like that. What's interesting is that for high school students, particularly with college applications, things have also changed too. There's some colleges who aren't necessarily accepting the SAT or ACT entrance exam scores. They want to look at their resumes. So I wanted to ask you, for prospective seniors who want to apply to Radford, what are some of the requirements that they need to do, or what do they need to do to apply to kind of send to undergraduate admissions for consideration of acceptance?
So we've made it pretty simple for all of our students. This includes freshmen and transfers. Both applications are free. So that is really helpful for a lot of students, especially who might be hitting, financial hard times during, the, COVID time frame and all of that. So we do accept Common App applications, and we also accept applications through our website as well. And we require transcripts of students, obviously, that's standard. And then for test scores, we don't require them, but if they do have test scores, because we do realize students may be from other states that did still do testing, or they postponed testing and did it at like a later time, we still accept those. So if they have them, they're more than welcome to send them in, but they're not required for a review of their application. Um, I'm sorry, but could you repeat the last part of that?
I wanted to know basically, just like you mentioned, like how the undergraduate admissions team is helping high school seniors with the application process, and what are some criteria that they have to have, basically.
Right. So for us, the major thing is, we're definitely looking that they do have the required math. So we're looking for students to have at least Algebra 2 by the end of their senior year. In terms of other things, really anything else could just be a bonus, whether it's, learning about what type of student they are, if they, let's say they take 2 or 3 years of band, get to know them a little better. Or maybe they are doing foreign languages. And so we want to see that. And then all of that does tie into the Highlander Distinction Program, which is Radford's automatic scholarship program. So if a student applies within the deadline, we take everything into account, whether it's GPA. Right now, test scores are not required, but they have them. We could definitely throw that in there. Class rank, see how they, tie up to the other students of their college, or sorry, their high school. And then, like I said, is what kind of courses are they taking? Are they taking AP courses, IB courses? Are they taking dual enrollment through the community college? We look at all those things, and whether it's just the admissions process or once they've moved past that point, and we're looking into awarding them potential scholarships based on their academic history.
And prior to working in undergraduate admissions, you yourself actually attended Radford University and you acquired your bachelor's degree in sociology. So, what was it about Radford that made you want to become a student, and why did you decide to stay and work with the university?
Yeah, so being from Northern Virginia, specifically, it's a very populated place. There's a lot going on, and sometimes you can feel a little crowded, I guess is the best way of putting it. So I applied to a bunch of schools within the state. All the ones that I did apply into, I did get into, but started visiting them. And, really with what struck with me with Radford is as soon as I was there, it wasn't like I was just a number. It felt like I was already like, they didn't care whether or not I had made my decision or not, but to them, I was already there. I was already a Radford student. And obviously with all of that, you never know. You could see just the face of it all, and it might not be true once you get there, but it certainly was. Once I got to Radford, that extended on to every single course. It wasn't. So I actually did have two minors. So I did Spanish and business administration, and so I took a couple of classes within different colleges, and every single time, I mean, it was always, they got to know me. Even if it was an intro class, could have been 40, 50 students, if it was one of the larger ones that, you may have taken, those same thing, they got to know me, even if it was just on like just a little bit. And then even today, if I visit campus, I can still see those professors and they're like, hey, you were in my marketing class like, 5 years ago. And I was like, yeah, that was me. And so, it's just great to know, they remember you. But then also on the learning side of things, if you're talking a little bit more professional, if you can be in an environment like that and take advantage of it, you're going to get so much out of it, whether it's, get great recommendation letters, you get to just learn, the details of the academics of that program or class or whatever. And then also on the professional side where I mentioned, finding internships or finding start networking with these people. It's so great that you can do that at Radford because you're not swarmed in a class of 200, but also it's not a class of 10 where you only have 10 people to compete with and you also see them every day. You get a little bit of variety every single day through your classes and, walking around campus and all of that.
And prior to working in undergraduate admissions, you were during your time at Radford, you served as an ambassador for the College of Humanities and Behavioral Sciences. So, what other activities or organizations were you involved in as a student, and how did they further enrich your experience here at Radford?
Yeah, so I did a few things. So obviously I was an ambassador, like you mentioned. I actually did work in the post office as a work study for a little while. I was a Spanish tutor, so that was an awesome opportunity. Helped me. I'm a native speaker, so it helped me, practice a little as well too, because as when you're speaking Spanish and learning from your parents, you really only speak it. So you don't write it or read it that often. So that was really great opportunity for me. So I did that. I was a part of a few clubs throughout. So I did like running club for like the first 2 years. And then I was a part of the car club on campus, which was really fun. Um, I did a couple of things with history, the history club. So that was just, for fun. Just I had a friend who was a history major. And so we would go every now and then. Ultimate Frisbee, I did my first year. I think it was a little too competitive for me, but it was fun. And then let's see. I'm trying to think of I did like sociology club stuff as well. And so obviously that just comes with the major. But those are the things I can remember the most, off the top of my head.
Throughout your life, or even your own educational journey, what has been the greatest advice you've ever received, and who would you say has given you that advice?
So you probably hear this one everywhere. And honestly, I think people say it so much that it just gets like drowned out by other stuff. But really it's get involved. I think the biggest thing you're going to regret if you go to college and come out is that you weren't involved enough. And, that's really where you get the most out of it. The program is great. The professors are awesome, but if you don't put the extra effort, that's where it's really going to come back to you. And so, for anyone, you're going to hear it a million times. They're going to say, oh, just get involved, be a part of a club or two or this and that. Realistically, when I really think about it, it's really hasn't been that long since I graduated. I graduated fall of 2016. um Most of my memories from college are being involved, taking that extra time to get to know my professors, doing, I had an internship on campus as well through the CSCR. um Being involved with these clubs, making friends, making memories, that's really I would say almost one of the most important parts of college, because you're going to realize there's a lot of skills you're going to obtain from these things. Might not seem like much, but it adds up, to make you a full package, a full candidate for when you start applying for places, whether it's you learn to be outgoing, and that could help in a field where, let's say you're a biology major and, maybe science is your thing, you want to do research, and being outgoing really isn't a requirement. But if you have that, that's a step up that you can have over, some other candidates, in that job, field. And so that would be my biggest thing, get involved, go and just do as many things as you can. And obviously, still pay attention to academics, make sure, you'd have a good balance of things. But if you find something you're interested in, just try it out. It doesn't hurt. Might just be an hour, 30 minutes, check it out. If it's your thing, great. More memories to come. But if it isn't, that's the nice thing about Radford. We're big enough to where we have so many opportunities where you can definitely just jump onto the next thing and see if that's the right fit for you throughout your 4 years there.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, how would you say, because I know you minored in business administration, how would you say that experience in business administration correlates to your own experience working in undergraduate admissions? How does it help you throughout your day-to-day operations? And what are some things that you've learned while working in college admissions?
Yeah, of course. So I think one of the big thing is that most people, um, you don't realize how much is going on in the background. You know, at the end of the day, a college is a business in a sense. And so you do learn, you know, how the budgeting works, you know, where things are thrown at, what, how to look at those numbers, you know, whether it's the amount of applicants you have, typical yield rate you get from them, where maybe you have certain territories you have to look into a little more, do a little bit more work, some more programming, you know, maybe it's outreach. And then, you know, I kind of will add this to, I know it's not technically the business admin side, but the sociology side. You're working with so many different groups of people, you know, whether it's, you know, socioeconomic status, maybe race, ethnicity, gender. And you definitely have to, you know, every student is unique. You have to work, you know, particularly to that student. But then at the end of the day, you do have to tie that into the whole picture, which is, you know, making a class for the fall, making a class for the spring, and being able to understand those numbers and know, you know, obviously I'm only one person. We have a team and we can work together. But at the end of the day, we do have to strategize, you know, because, you know, one thing is we can't, you know, we can't have events every day. You know, we would love to, but one, we would burn everyone out probably, and the employees, we would burn out the students as well. And two, you know, we just don't have the time or, you know, the manpower to do that all. So, you know, working all those things together with those two majors is, you know, getting to know what you're looking at, how to interact with it, and what that means for the big picture.
And what was your career trajectory like as far as working your way up to become the regional assistant director at Radford? How many hours did you have to put in? How much work did you put in to reach this position? And how did it feel when you acquired this position?
So I will be completely honest. I kind of landed here by luck, I would say. You know, but you know, it was a really fortunate opportunity. Originally, I had actually graduated from Radford early, and so I still had a lease to pay. So I was like, well, why don't we find a job here? So I was able to find a admissions counselor position through Radford. I was hired back in, I believe, of February of 2017. So I'm pretty much hitting 4 years now. And so stayed in the area. You know, it was great to kind of see Radford from the other side. And it was an easy transition because, you know, I was a Chubbs ambassador. I knew a lot about the university. I was involved. So all that stuff was transitioning. It was just kind of doing, you know, the actual work of it, you know, other than I already knew about it. I just needed to, you know, work with students to let them know about what I knew. And so, you know, that kind of happened. Originally, I had the plan to go to grad school. Um, at the time, I was looking at a school that was out of state, but just with the way things turned out, I actually eventually decided to move back home to Northern Virginia. And fortunately enough, there was a position available. Um, Not initially, I was kind of temporary, like they needed assistance in Northern Virginia. The position opened, and then the transition over was simple. You know, I was already in Northern Virginia, and, you know, I already knew about Radford. I knew about the processes, and, you know, really, I mean, it was just all history at that point. You know, it was just easy transition, easy for me, easy for the university. So that's kind of how I landed in this position. Um, Originally, you know, I really didn't, I really, like I said, I didn't see myself here originally, but once I got to know the field, that's actually one of the reasons why I've kind of postponed grad school, because I'm still, you know, debating on which route I want to take at this point, because originally it was actually going to be, you know, through kind of the research side of sociology, you know, looking into quantitative research and stuff like that. But that's definitely not on the radar anymore. So now I'm here and kind of just, you know, taking my time to figure out exactly what I want to do within higher ed, because I definitely think, um, I want to stick within the higher ed field, moving forward. But in the meantime, I'm here, I'm at Radford, I'm happy, having a great time, in this position. So just taking it day by day for now.
And what advice would you give to Radford seniors right now who are searching for employment opportunities or applying for new positions? What advice would you give them on, let's say, writing effective resumes, cover letters, and basically acing their interviews for employment positions?
Yeah, I mean, going back, I kind of talked about this a little earlier. At Radford, we're friendly people, and just make sure that when you go into that interview, bring in all of that character that you've built throughout Radford. Don't make it about just what's on the resume. Don't look at, don't leave it to just be bland. Make sure you come in, you are who you are. You definitely stick to your guns, and just be calm. If it works out at the end of the day, the way a job works, or a school, getting into a university is, you're looking for the right fit, but so is that place. So if it doesn't work out, don't take it to heart. Just move on to the next one. Find the fit that's for you, because at the end of the day, the place that fits you the best, it's going to be the one that makes you the happiest. And so that goes both ways, for a college or for a job. So if you fit in, you feel comfortable, you're enjoying your time there, it's going to be a lot easier, and it's going to be, you're going to be able to explain those things to everyone, whether it's moving to the next job after that, or, maybe going to grad school instead. They're going to be able to see all that character, development is the best way of putting it, that they're going to be able to see that you've had throughout your time at Radford.
And as we progress further down the spring 2021 semester, I wanted to ask you, what are some things or some of your goals that you hope to accomplish within this semester?
Yeah. So throughout, we obviously do have our personal goals that we want to reach in terms of, the amount of students we reach out to, the amount of applications, the amount of confirmed students. For us, it never ends. So we might have goals, but we always want to go higher. So definitely this semester, just do as much programming as possible. I know at this point, it's kind of, we're, I guess, 1 year in almost at this point. And so, it never ends. So we always just have to plan ahead. And I think for me, I always like planning ahead as much as possible. And so, just get everything done for the spring, have as much programming as possible, get those applications in, get these students in, and get them ready for, next fall.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with the Tartan. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your responses.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.